When it comes to the fantasy MMORPG Cross Reverie, none can match the power of the Demon King Diablo. Possessing the game's rarest artifacts as well as an unrivaled player level, he overpowered all foolish enough to confront him. But despite his fearsome reputation, Diablo's true identity is Takuma Sakamoto, a shut-in gamer devoid of any social skills. Two girls, Rem and Shira, mistakenly summoned Takuma to this world when they were trying to summon rare monsters, hoping to enslave them as their servants. But the summon spell backfired, enslaving Rem and Shira instead of Takuma. He has been the Demon Lord ever since. During his adventures with Rem as well as Shira, he stopped Shira's brother in the Greenwood Kingdom when they came to take her back, as well as destroyed the Fallen. He also released the soul of the Demon Lord Krebscombe from inside Rem's stomach and made her his slave. One day, while adventuring with his two slaves, Rem and Shira, he finds himself in a peculiar situation when he inadvertently rescues the priestess Lumashina Wasilia from an assassination attempt by a paladin. As Lumashina had been praying when Diablo appeared, she now believes that Diablo is a god and that he has answered her prayers. Paladin Jewelt attacks Diablo with his traps as well as summons, but he cannot do anything against the powerful magical powers of Diablo. Diablo uses his powerful elemental ice magic to trap the paladin, stopping him in his tracks. They rest for the night in the inn, where Lumashina explains to Diablo that she believes the head cardinal of her church, Vishos, wants her dead for investigating his corruption. She had been looking for head paladin Batata for his assistance, but had been unable to locate him. Seeing no other options, Diablo as well as the girls decide to help in escorting her to Zurin Tower, where Batata is said to reside. Krebscombe as well as Edelgard barge into their room wanting to know more about the new girl Lumashina, but soon realize the holy scent coming off her, which makes them hostile against her. But Diablo diffuses the tension between them. Although initially hesitant to involve himself in the affairs of humans, Diablo eventually agrees to Lumashina's request, as he was also intrigued by the mention of Zurin Tower and remembered that the dungeon he built in the game is also located there. In the end, they decide to leave the Demon Lord Clem as well as Edelgard the Fallen behind in Faltra at the inn with May, the poster girl at the inn, as well as with Sylvie the Guildmaster. They also contacted Celestine from the Maids Association as well as Emil to help in this matter. Then he finally departed from Faltra with Lumashina, Rem, Shira, and Diablo on his journey to Zurin Tower. Before leaving Faltra, they say their goodbyes, and Clem gives some of her demon power by turning her bow into a powerful ebony bow infused with magical demon powers. Their journey to Zurin Tower will be dangerous, but they will be ready to face it head-on. Diablo, Rem, and Shira, along with Lumashina, are traveling to the Zurin Tower for the mission given by Lumashina. Their journey was perilous, and it took them 2 weeks to reach the city. As they arrive in Zurin Tower City, a desert town ridden with poverty, they are met by a child named Horn, who offers to guide them through the dungeon. Diablo recognizes the child's description of the dungeon and realizes that it is his own creation in the game. They hear a cry for help from a woman to heal her child as she begs the paladin there to heal her child, but he refuses to help her without a donation. The paladin is with the Paladin Brigade. They are soldiers of the church who work under the paladin's command as well. Lumashina offers to help a mother heal her sick child, but the paladin attacks her. Fortunately, Diablo comes to her aid. The mother shows Lumashina strange marks on her baby, which Diablo immediately recognizes as the death knell disease, an epidemic that is fatal when 9 marks appear on someone's body. The only cure is a miracle from a priest, but they refuse to perform it without a donation. Lumashina decides to use her magical powers to save the child. Her power is so strong that everyone around her stops in their tracks and kneels in awe. Lumashina is successful in healing the baby with her powers. However, their progress is interrupted when a monstrous shark attacks the city. Diablo springs into action, using his powers to try to stop the creature, but finds that it is too powerful for him to stand alone. Recognizing the danger, head paladin Batata as well as the city's leader, Fanny's Laminitas, arrive on the scene to help. Together, they manage to weaken the creature and force it to retreat. Batata and the paladins introduce themselves to the group, but Lumashina confronts him about the formation of the Paladin Brigade. Batata kneels for forgiveness from the head priest Lumashina for their behavior, which makes the group trust him. Fanny's Laminitas introduces herself to the group and confronts Batata for asking for donations from the city people without doing work. Fanny's came to them looking for the user of the powerful magic that helped stop the shark as well as the whale attack, but she had ulterior motives and left after a misdirection by Batata. The group starts to trust Batata because of his actions and accepts his invitation to the Zurin Tower. They have an amazing feast provided to them by Batata, and bewildered by all the food in front of them, they cannot help but dive in. Soon after the feast, Diablo decides to relax as well as have a bath, but Shira joins him in the bath, which makes him lustful after she touches him inappropriately everywhere with her body. Meanwhile, head paladin Batata arrives after their dinner to meet with head priest Lumashina as well as Rem. Head paladin Batata arrives after their dinner to meet with head priest Lumashina as well as Rem. Lumashina confronts him about the Paladin Brigade, which he explains is a group of adventurers he had organized, comprising strong as well as capable individuals, with the task of protecting the local priests. He promises Lumashina to correct their violent behavior, but she is also worried about the plague of death knell in the city. Lumashina found out about the large-scale curse casted by someone to threaten the lives of citizens living in the city, and she suspects Batata is behind this. But before she could do anything, Lumashina as well as Rem were drugged and abducted by Batata as well as his maid, Shiryu. Meanwhile, Horn secretly watched Diablo as well as Shira while they were taking a bath together, but she was caught by Diablo, and after explaining herself, she informed them about the kidnapping of their friends. They decided to search for Rem as well as Lumashina. However, Rem as well as Lumashina wake up, finding themselves bound to wooden poles in some underground dungeon. They hear loud noises of people moaning from around them, which Lumashina finds filthy as well as filled with evil. Batata as well as Shiryu arrive to show them the concentrate that causes the death knell disease, which can only be produced from the essence of sin. It's the source of evil itself. Batata as well as Shiryu have brainwashed the devout believers of the church to leave their passion for justice and fall for their darkest desires. When they give in to their darkest desires, the essence of evil is created. Rem mocks Batata about his dungeon, but Lumashina is scared to see all the evil in front of her. Batata thinks that those who can perform powerful miracles will produce a richer evil essence when they fall to their darkest desires, and he reveals his plan to target Fanny's laminitis with the death knell disease. Shiryu starts to torture her with her extremely long tongue to try to seduce her and make her fall into her dark desires, but is promptly stopped when Diablo and Shira come crashing down in the dungeon after killing everyone outside. Diablo confronts Batata about his actions, asks him about his knowledge of the death knell disease, and sharply asks him to release Rem as well as Lumashina. Batata mocks him for his strategy to start a fight on the stairs, which prompts Diablo to fire his magic at him, but he instead destroys the stairs in front of him and falls down. Batata stops every attempted attack by Diablo and gets stabbed in the heart by him. Everyone thinks that he's dead, but Batata messed up his spell and got counterattacked by him because of his powerful cape, which protected him. Watching this fight, Shiryu attempts to kill Rem but is promptly stopped by Shira's powerful arrow, which turns her into stone. Batata attacks Diablo with all his might but ultimately gets countered by Diablo, which destroys him. Meanwhile, Fanny's gets attacked by Varachnis, the Graz, as well as the general of the Demon Lord's army. He informs her about the awakening of the Demon Lord as well as his escape. On the other side, Diablo and the group find out that Batata had placed the death knell curse on Lumashina before dying. Diablo as well as the group start their journey to the new dungeon Horn told them about, to cure the death knell disease as well as cure Lumashina, when they see a horde of ships coming behind them, led by none other than Fanny's laminitis. Fanny's catches up to the group and asks Diablo if he is the demon lord that Varachnis mentioned to her. They convince her about their true intentions, tell her about their current problem regarding the death knell disease, and escape to the desert away from Fanny's. They camp in the desert at night, discussing their next move. Meanwhile, Fanny's is interrupted by the paladin Jewel asking the whereabouts of the head priest Lumashina when a guard informs her about the information about the dungeon. Diablo as well as the group's plan to go there. Diablo as well as the group reach the dungeon, which he reveals he made himself and never thought to be taking on himself. The dungeon is filled with traps as well as puzzles, and there's a trick on every floor. The first floor has a giant labyrinth that is blocked by the entrance, and there's no way to leave. Each of the walls shifts over time, changing the layout of the maze, which makes mapping it pointless. Diablo uses his magic to make his own way through the maze, destroying every wall in front of them. He moves in fearlessly, leading the group behind him as he has made the dungeon himself and knows every floor by heart. Soon they reach a room filled with lava where they have to answer some questions or they'll fall to their deaths in the lava, but they clear the room with the help of Lumashina. The next room is filled with white Jaegers waiting in front of a stage for some kind of performance. They figure out that they will have to perform on the stage to satisfy the Jaegers and unlock the next room. Diablo steps up to be their producer as well as train them in their rehearsal performance. They start their performance singing as well as dancing on the stage in front of the Jaegers with Diablo. Seeing the beautiful performance of the group, the white Jaegers get excited and start singing along with them, which opens a path under the stage as well as allowing them to leave the room. While getting attacked by monsters in the next room, they spot a different summon with the monsters presently attacking them. It's a big worm-like creature with a gaping hole for a mouth as well as serrated teeth all around the mouth. It turns out Jewel followed them inside as well as confronted Lumashina, but Horn saved her by jumping in the deep waterfall below, taking Jewel with herself. The group is scared for Horn when Diablo tells the rest of them to go on ahead without him and jumps in the deep water below him without them to save him. The group is scared for Diablo and thinks about what their next steps would be without his help. Diablo jumped into the deep waters after Horn as well as Jewel to save Horn, leaving behind Rem, Shira, and Lumashina. The group is scared for Diablo and thinks about what their next steps would be without his help. Diablo finds Horn under the water using his underwater movement skill. He succeeds in saving Horn, but loses his powerful magical clothes as well as his staff. They are stuck in some underwater cavern, and Horn is unconscious while Diablo starts up a fire to dry him off. While he starts to remove Horn's clothes to dry them off, he's shocked to realize that Horn is a girl after looking at her private parts. She wakes up after finding them both naked and without clothes and asks Diablo to return her clothes. But he convinces her that the clothes need to get dry before he can give them back to her or else she will get sick. Diablo asks Horn about her clothing choice as well as why she was dressed like a man, to which she tells him about her lonely life without her family as well as her survival, and they have a nice moment together. They start to look for a way out after resting for a while, worrying about the other group, but Diablo is confident in their skills. They will be in actual danger on the 12th floor if Diablo decides to find them before they reach the 12th floor. Meanwhile, the other group is worried about the whereabouts of Diablo as well as Horn, but Rem asks them to move forward, as that is what Diablo would want them to do. They reach the 12th floor before Diablo and find Jewel waiting for them in there. He attacks with his summons, but they counterattack him with their own. King Black Dragon attacks all of their summons and destroys them, ready to attack all of them, including Jewel. Jewel is confused about this attack from nowhere and counters the Black Dragon with his powerful summon Ifrit. Ifrit fights with the Black Dragon, protecting everyone behind him, but the Black Dragon overpowers him and destroys the summon along with Jewel. Jewel gets badly wounded, but Lumashina decides to help him with her healing magic even after his attempts to capture her. She successfully heals Jewel, but they get attacked by the Black Dragon when, finally, Diablo enters and saves them with his magic. Without his magical staff, it took a little more time to defeat the Black Dragon, but Diablo ultimately defeats the dragon and saves everyone. Just as the defeated dragon was about to leave the floor, a weird girl in a maid costume stopped the dragon and confronted him. The dragon disobeys her orders but is quickly destroyed by the girl with her advanced-looking powers. She is the Magimatic Maid, Rose, which Diablo intended to use on the 13th floor in the game. After Diablo tells her his username, she realizes that it's her master who has returned. They finally find the treasure vault, realize that they have completed the dungeon, and find the White Ox statue, which will help them cure the death knell on Lumashina. They save Lumashina as well as find new outfits and accessories for everyone as a reward. A war between the Fallen as well as Fanny's army has broken out as they attacked her ships along with the people. Veracnus is leading the army of the Fallen, and he threatens to take Fanny's with him for his harem. Veracnus has 3 wives along with his Demon Lord's army, with him offering Fanny's to be his 4th wife, but she denies it as well as shooting him with her gun, punching a hole through his chest. They think he's dead, but he's revived by one of his wives' kisses. All 3 of his wives have different powers, which is proving quite difficult to tackle for Fanny's. A loud shrieking noise envelops Fanny's as well as her army, destroying everything in its path. When Fanny's gets attacked from behind by another of his wives, she kills every one of the guards on the ship, leaving only Fanny's alive. Fanny's gets captured by her, begging for life, when suddenly lightning strikes out of the sky, revealing Diablo as well as his group, who teleported out of the dungeon. The girls use their powers to defeat and destroy the Fallen, while Lumashina heals all the people who got injured in the battle. Diablo is destroying the Fallen easily with his newfound gear as well as equipment from the previous dungeon. Fanny shows her gratitude towards Diablo for helping her as well as her people, and she tells him about Veracnus, the Fallen army's commander-in-chief. He has powers granted by a demon lord, as well as his 3 wives, a powerful sorcerer, a healer, and a fallen being that can appear out of people's shadows. Diablo learns about Veracnus as well as his twisted harem. He drinks a lot of potions and challenges Veracnus to battle. The sorcerer's wife attacks Diablo without even thinking and is easily destroyed by her own magic reflected by Diablo. He catches the other wife sneaking up behind him to kill her, uses his ice elemental magic to turn her into ice, and destroys her. Diablo attacks the third wife sitting beside him with his flare burst move and destroys everything in front of his path, along with the third wife, with only Veracnus surviving the attack. Veracnus is furious at Diablo for murdering his wives and moves to attack him one-on-one. Diablo evades every attack by Veracnus with the help of his skills as well as equipment, which Veracnus lacks despite being on the same level as him. Finally, he attacks Veracnus with his powerful white nova and destroys him. The girls as well as the soldiers celebrate their victory, and Fanny's invites them to a feast in the city. While enjoying the feast, Diablo notices that Horn is missing when he discovers that Horn is getting bullied by some goons, but she still stands up to them. The goons attack Diablo without knowing his real power and get destroyed. Horn tells her that she feels useless and wants to leave the group, but Diablo helps her understand that she is now an integral part of the team and that no one wants to make her leave, convincing her to stay with the group. Fanny's Laminitus is trying to seduce as well as convince Diablo to stay in Zircon Tower City, which is actually a very tempting offer, but he remembers his promise to help Lumashina in dealing with the resurrected demon lord. Fanny's tries to seduce him with her body, but Diablo somehow escapes, leaving her alone in the room. Diablo as well as the group finally made it to the city of Faltra and decided to go to the royal capital as soon as everyone was ready. Lumashina decides to visit the church in the city when Emil by Chelberger shows up to escort Lumashina to the church. But the guildmaster Sylvie scolds Emil for accepting a quest in the middle of another quest. Sylvie welcomes the group, greeting everyone as well as informing them about Clem, who's at a bakery in the southern district where Edelgard is working part-time. Diablo reaches the bakery, which has some weird decorations. Peter, the bakery boss, is getting bullied by Clem as well as Edelgard, and it turns out even May from the inn is also working in the bakery. Clem tells them about some odd stuff reported in the east of the city when Celestine enters the bakery and greets Diablo. Some bullies calling themselves from the Mismos family barged into the bakery, wanting to sell a pig statue claiming to be made by the Maids Association for 10,000, as well as forcing the boss to pay for it. The pig statue accidentally slid from one of the Mismos family members and crashed straight into Krebskolm's cookie plate, breaking it. Clem is furious and uses her powers to throw them out of the bakery. The boss revealed that they were from a criminal organization, and the local knights had not been able to arrest them. Diablo and the group decided to attack the Mismos family house and use their power to blow up the gate. Mismos family soldiers came out and started firing at everyone with their guns. They fight with them but realize they cannot kill anyone here because they are still inside the city, and if they do so, they won't be allowed to stay in the city. Diablo stops the fight with his magic before anyone else can do any more harm. Scarface, the living legend who defeated the Graz as well as the Orc in a massive duel, encounters the group and tries to hit Clem, but she destroys him without even moving a muscle. Diablo, as well as everyone else, barged into the boss office, and Clem used her infinity detonation power, but she missed the target. Diablo decided to make the boss apologize. Everyone is having a feast after the long day when Lord of Faltra, Galford, came and told them that he was an undercover agent of Mismos and had reports of a child who had used some mysterious power to fight. They decide to do an investigation into the matter. The bakery owner thanked Clem for saving his bakery. Finally, Diablo and the group started their journey to the grass as well as the cathedral of the royal capital. Diablo as well as his group are on a horse cart traveling to the grand cathedral of the royal capital, while Rem is suffering from motion sickness. They finally arrive at the royal capital, and when they're suddenly surrounded by soldiers, Diablo thinks about dealing with them in his own way to protect the group, but he sees Alicia Christella from the Imperial Knights appear, and informs the soldiers to let them through as they mean no harm. Alicia is an old friend of Diablo, and she received a letter from Rem and has been anticipating their arrival. She insisted on taking care of their accommodations and inviting them to dinner. During dinner, Rose shows a collar to Horn, explaining that wearing it will form a master-servant pact. However, Rem warns that the servant who forges such a pact will die when their master dies. Alicia reveals to Diablo about the head Cardinal Visho's plan to hunt as well as slaughter Lumashina. She is looking for evidence of wrongdoing regarding this matter, but the kingdom is unable to interfere in the church's internal affairs and won't be able to punish Vichos as well as the other cardinals. She promises Diablo to continue investigating the church and leaves him alone with his thoughts. While sleeping, Rose wakes up Diablo, mentions that she wants to recharge her magic powers, and reveals that she gained some from Diablo earlier when she was standing next to him. Rose wants to gain power from him through contact, but because she is a mechanical being, Diablo takes her from behind and helps her charge her powers. The next morning, Alicia shows Diablo the records of the church's financial dealings for the past few years, as well as evidence of their various wrongdoings. She got all of this evidence by bribing those officials, and she also told them about the White Mask. She reveals that Vichos has already killed many people before his plan to kill Lumashina. Lumashina asks for one more favor and wants to march to the cathedral with this evidence to confront Vichos. Diablo as well as the others set out on their journey and finally reach the cathedral. However, they discover that the sanctuary is floating in the sky. People from the cathedral come forward and pray for Diablo and his companions, thinking that they are pilgrims. Vichos enters and welcomes Diablo as well as Lumashina. However, Lumashina confronts Vichos, accusing him of sending an assassin to kill her. Vichos denies the accusation and claims that all the evidence is fake. He then orders Lumashina to resign from her post as head priest for abusing her duties, as well as orders his soldiers to seize her and her companions. All the soldiers as well as people start to surround them, but Diablo uses a lightning strike to threaten everyone as well as stop them in their tracks. They all make their way up to the sanctuary in the sky. Lumashina is being separated from the rest of the group and sentenced to execution. Diablo, who seems to be in charge, orders the others not to escape because Lumashina had asked them not to. Lumashina is ready to sacrifice her life and pray for Vichos even after he has captured and killed so many people. In the meantime, Horn accidentally activates the Holy Grail that he had taken from Diablo's treasure vault in the dungeon, and a tiny fairy-like girl named Babylon appears and asks for her wish to save Diablo as well as the group. Babylon explains that she is a level-up goddess and that she has the power to increase her level so that she can go and save her friends. Babylon explains that she appears to those who offer blood to the Grail, just as Horn accidentally offered her blood to the Holy Grail. Babylon offers to make Horn stronger, but her spell doesn't work, so Horn decides to put on Rose's treasure collar. Diablo, Rem, Rose, and Shira are stuck in the cell on the sanctuary when Horn tries to fight the guards with her newfound power of charm. She charms the guards, asks them about the whereabouts of Diablo and the group, and starts her journey to the sanctuary in the sky. Babylon reveals to Horn that she's now level 80 with her powers of charm, which is why she is able to clear the sanctuary very easily. Meanwhile, Shira is getting hungry sitting in the dungeon when Horn comes to rescue them but gets attacked while trying to open the cell door. The goon of Vichos summons monsters trying to kill Horn, but Diablo decides to destroy their cell to save Horn as well as finally fight the goon. Diablo gives her a potion to heal her, and they decide to get out of this sanctuary. Diablo accepts Horn as his slave and fights with the goon Vichos. He is much sharper than the other enemies he has faced so far and is giving fierce competition to Diablo, but ultimately gets defeated by his fierce magic. Diablo is destroying the sanctuary to lure Vichos as well as Lumashina out, and he is successful in doing so. It turns out it was all a plan to make the common people in the sanctuary believe in the head priest Lumashina by being defeated by her acting as a demon lord. And it's going exactly as planned. Lumashina, rather than going with the plan, decides to praise Diablo as a god as well as a demon lord. The believers kneel in front of the head priest, Lumashina. Vichos is planning to eliminate the head priest Lumashina as well as the demon lord Diablo to win over the believers and restore their position. Vichos calls upon Europa, the god of destruction, who looms over the sanctuary, ready to attack. Vichos summons the god of destruction, Europa, and merges with it to become a god. Diablo mocks him, knowing that Europa is merely a weapon summoned through ritual magic and not a true god. Europa was a boss in a limited time event in Cross Reverie, and Diablo is confident in his abilities to defeat it. However, he soon realizes that Europa's attacks are not magic, and he is unable to reflect them. Rose collects data and informs Diablo that Europa's level can exceed 200. Rem notices that Europa came out of the bottom floor of the sanctuary, indicating that there might be something hidden down there. She decides to investigate as well as head down. Europa relentlessly attacks Diablo, nullifying his magical attacks due to its enchantments. It then targets Lumashina, but Diablo manages to save her just in time and also takes her inside the building. Diablo instructs Lumashina to use the spell magic to remove the defensive barriers on Europa. As Lumashina casts the spell, the people who supported Vishos realize their mistake, and Diablo mentions that Lumashina was the only person who truly spread the word of God. While Lumashina finishes her spell, Diablo tries to keep her safe, and Rose attempts to protect him from Europa's attacks. However, she gets hit as well as destroyed, making Diablo even more determined to win. He tries to use his elemental magic, Volcanic Vow, as well as Lightning Arrow, but they fail to even scratch Europa. Lumashina finally finishes her spell as well as her Dispel magic, empowered by the believer's prayers, and destroys Visho's shield. With the Shining Lance in his right hand as well as the Darkness Lance in his left, Diablo uses light as well as dark composites and unleashes the Magic Annihilation Sphere to finally defeat Vishos. Paladin Jewelt meets up with Rem and gives her a key as repayment for the debt he owes Lumashina. After instructing the believers to follow the head priest, Diablo leaves. Lumashina saves Traya with the help of the key provided by Jewelt, and Alicia gives Diablo gold coins for his travel expenses as well as assistance with the mission. She then asks him to stay as the head paladin, but he declines as he cannot take up the position. Diablo, Rem, Rose, and Shira start their journey back to Faltra, while Horn stays in the royal capital to attend school as well as learn magic. Back in Faltra City, Edelgard is eating the food of the mortal races as well as rejecting everything except for one biscuit, which she enjoys. Horn enrolls in school, and Alicia offers to pay for her education and asks for a classmate. Lumashina starts repairing the sanctuary, and Diablo decides to conduct some magic experiments as well as accept a quest. All of them agree to this plan. Here's the video ends. Guys, if you like this recap, then like the video. I will meet you in another video. Till then, bye.